Home the gold.
He could be too far. No, he's kicking. Oh, what a catch!
Puts a spicy forehand out in front of Naomi Morcilla.
Wu for the win. Team Canada. Darren Wu!
Santos with the layout grab.
Oh, that fantastic grab. The claws of Chaffer.
Canada just became the world champions.
Yo, Canada and the rest of the world, you're listening to the Huckin podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Theo Wan, from the Toronto, Ontario.
And I'm Danie Proby from the Vancouver, BC. And together we are your coast-to-coast guide to all things Canadian Ultimate. Speaking of Ultimate,
have you played? I knew you were going to do it.
I mean, you always say what you say. So why can't I say what I always say? So, speaking of Ultimate, have you played any Ultimate or done anything cool in the last month since we've last spoken?
Well, to clarify to the audience, Danie and I do speak regularly, just...
Too often.
Yeah. For her, it's too often. For me, it's more than... It's good. It's a good amount. But she means, speaking to each other, but like in front of the audience, I guess. So for me, I played Ultimate once. One time on the U of T campus. I found out that as a staff member, I can enroll in any recreation program. So there was drop-in Ultimate with some of the U of T men's team or open team out there. So, or anyone can go, but the U of T open team goes and kind of doing some off-season training, I guess. Don't want to let out all their secrets. But yeah, I played once, and otherwise I've been working diligently, I will say. And playoffs are coming up. I'm not sure what it's like in Canada West, or if you're in a different part of the country, maybe you're having playoffs as well. But it's a busy time in the collegiate world, so you'll notice my absence later for something. But that's because I've just been on the grind, Don't sleep, right, Danie? That's the way.
It's absolutely not true. I sleep every day, and I also nap. So
how many hours?
It's important to sleep. How many hours do I sleep?
Yeah, a day.
I get depends on if it's a nap day or not, but normally 7 or 8 in the overnight, and then if the nap, it's like an hour and a half. It just wipes me out.
Dang. All right. Yeah, I don't do the nap thing because I feel like if I do that, I won't be able to sleep. So, anyways, we won't.
Let's not put our audience to sleep.
Yeah, we won't turn into a sleep podcast here, even though sleep is beneficial. It's true, especially for athletes. So if you're an athlete, don't listen to what I just said and make sure you get your rest. But Danie, speaking of athletes here, look at that segue. I saw some stories going on. There's a tournament happening or something like that. Like something going on over there in the Elevate world.
One thing that you might notice is that anytime Theo and I do anything, he needs to say that it's happened. Like when I say something that he thinks I was going to say, he will say that he thought I was going to say it. And when he thinks he did a good segue, he will always call out his good segue. Just saying, it's a little embarrassing. Okay, so
wow.
This weekend, Elevate, we hosted like a high school hat tournament where kids could sign up with kids from their school. And it was really fun. We had like 60 plus athletes out on the field playing 5-on-5. It was awesome. And what else happened? Played some Golty this weekend. Pretty fun. Been playing pretty much every weekend. And I got to coach UVic one time because I was in Victoria. So they invited me out to one of their practices and got to run some fun drills and see the crew. And it was really nice to be back on campus, actually. So it was a good time.
Has the campus changed much since you went there? Like, is it like totally different now?
Yeah, I think a lot of the money I was paying in extra fees went to creating this new sports facility. And as soon as I graduated, it was ready to go. So it looks nice. Looks great.
Yeah, I will say, Danie, I had the same experience. We got like the pictures of what the new athletic center would look like at the University of Guelph. And then it never got built like when I was there. So my tuition money was definitely going there. So you're welcome, current University of Guelph students. So
yeah, I think other than that, there's not too much going on in my world. Do you have anything else to report before we report the news?
No, because I can't say any more good segues or anything like that. So I'll just say we're moving on to the next portion of our episode.
We now have breaking news.
Welcome to the news segment. So lots of like kind of random things all over the place to kind of report on. So first of all, huge shout out to all of the 2021 Hall of Fame inductees. So we didn't get to shout them out in the last podcast. So in the player category, we had Allison Walker, Mike Grant, and VY Chow, which is just amazing. If you've seen any footage of them playing, you will obviously understand why they got the nomination, why they got inducted into the Hall of Fame. So the categories that they generally look for are dominance, leadership, longevity, and age. So it's a combination of those 4 things, which gets those athletes moved into that kind of Hall of Fame status. Now in the builder category, Allison Fisher of Iris and Team Canada and Hadia Rodrigue were put into the builder category. And the characteristics of builders are people like, I think it's like, would Ultimate Canada or Canadian Ultimate be the same without this person if they hadn't existed, for example? Wow. So huge, impressive careers these people had in order to get here. And I couldn't agree more. And I think that those choices were phenomenal.
Yeah, we still got to figure out how to get all that Hall of Fame royalty here on the podcast. That's something still in the works there, so stay tuned. But Danie, side note...
We're trying.
Yeah, trying. Side note here, though. Do you think there'll ever be a media category for the Ultimate Canada Hall of Fame? Like, how there's like player, builder, and then maybe like media or something? I'm just wondering.
I don't think so.
Oh. Well,
did you want me to say yes? Yes, sure.
I did.
Absolutely.
I did want you to say yes because this podcast is going to go for like 10 years, and it's just going to create this legacy, and people will be like, "Those 2 people, if they didn't exist,
change the game."
Yeah, exact. I don't want to say it, but you said.
I think it'd still be the builder category. It's just like with a media kind of lens or focus, but.
One can
anyway, in terms of any of the rest of the news, you have some announcements to make.
Yeah, I've said this before on the podcast. If you've been living under a rock and you did not check your news or check your Instagram or Facebook, you didn't see this, but CUC announced in Brampton, Ontario, not too far, like a stone's throw away from where I am. For you, it's a little bit more of a trek there. You could do a fun road trip across Canada if you wanted. But interesting to note, the senior division starts first, 18 to 21st, and then juniors after that, the 21st to 24th. I thought I read that wrong, but it's what it says on the site. So I don't think that's ever happened, Danie, at least from my knowledge. Do you know if that's happened recently? I know our fact checker will let us know, but...
Not that I've been to. At least all the CUs that I've been to, I've always coached first and then played after. So,
yeah,
see how it goes.
Quite interesting. Another interesting note is that the Masters division, you get to play August 6th to 7th in either Ontario or Quebec. We got to find that out. But a 2-day event there. So I don't know what went down into that choice, but... maybe some Masters people are excited they only have to play 2 days instead of 3 for the bones and joints there.
Yeah, especially if some of them are playing a bunch of tournaments and go warm-up tournaments for Masters Club Worlds and stuff like that. Maybe a 2-day event. They've already used a lot of their vacation days. Basically, every single Masters eligible player in Quebec is definitely on a team going to Club Worlds. So I'm sure they could maybe use less vacation day stress.
Yeah, they also want to not schedule it like kind of with any sort of closeness to the Masters Worlds, I believe, as well. So I think that was like part of that decision. But in terms of time out teams there, we're not going to shout out every team that's posted a form out because that would be a long list. But if you're trying to play some Ultimate this summer, you need to get ready. I mean, some would say you're already too late if you're starting to train right now, but hey, you got to just start anyways. But tryouts are happening for teams. I'm seeing it all over Ontario. Danny, you're probably seeing it even in BC out there. Tryouts are starting to, in terms of just dates and times. Ultimate's coming. Come on, get ready.
In fact, Ultimate tryouts happened this weekend. Red Flag already started their tryout process early because they want to get their roster set early enough to be able to train well in advance of Club Worlds. And so I went out and watched their first open tryout, and they have more tryouts coming this next weekend. So lots of young talent. Very, very, very young tryout. Even juniors were there. It was awesome. It was really fun to see. So congrats to everybody who made it to the first closed tryout. I will probably also watch that. I just like Frisbee quite a bit. So I'll be there. Also, speaking of tryouts, the U20 tryout dates are penciled in. Let me repeat that. Penciled in. It is not confirmed. I do not want to be spreading fake news. But tentatively, I want to make sure this is super clear. Tentatively, April 30th and May 1st in Toronto and Montreal. And then we have May 7th and 8th, Winnipeg and Vancouver. Potentially. Okay, great. I'm looking forward to those. It's going to be great. So, also Mephisto / the Royals had a tryout or something this last weekend. Saw it on Instagram, and I know that a couple of the Ottawa players were spotted on the field in Quebec. So I wonder if there's going to be any mix-up or if people are just trying to potentially sneak onto Club World's rosters. I don't know. What do you think, Theo?
Wow, you're just throwing like, not shade, but like I was doing this earlier, but that's like true. Before we even talk about Mephisto Royale, I had a question about prospect camps. Is that going to be 1 day in Toronto?
It's not prospect camp.
Oh, tryout. Good clarification. Fact checker right here on the podcast as we speak. So the tryout, is it 1 day in Toronto, 1 day in Montreal? Or they're happening at the same time in two different cities?
1 day and then 1 day. So when I say April 30th and May 1, and I say Toronto and then Montreal, it's supposedly going to be in that order. Again, tentatively.
Yeah. So if you're of U20 age, so that means what, 19 and under, you should go try out. Because we've talked about that before, about why. Can we just I just need to stress to that point that even if you don't make it this round, coaches remember you. They'll remember your potential, and then they'll see you again, and you'll already be on their radar. It's so, so worth it. So go try out. Who cares? Go out there, put yourself out there, pump that courageous muscle, be on the field. Do it. I mean, Huckin audience, do you really need any more motivation than that? Come on. But in terms of other tryouts, also spot on Instagram, the Rush hosting their tryouts, so AUDL season coming up upon us as well. Ottawa Outlaws having their prospect camp. By the time this comes out, I think it should still be this coming weekend. So March 11th to 13th, looking for the best talent there in the capital city. AUDL starting April 30th and back to their normal schedule. So American teams will be coming over. Canadian teams will be going over to the States. It'll be kind of cool to get some connectivity. See some of the best stars too. I'm personally excited to see the New York Empire come into town because they have a stacked team. So I think that should be well attended, hopefully. Speaking of attendance here, teams are going to be attending the Canadian Eastern Indoor University Series. Try to say that a few times. That was a bit of stretch. That was a bit of a stretch for a segue. I just need you to... that was a bit... I'm going to call you out for that mediocre segue. I was trying to do a good segue without saying I did a good segue, so I was really just trying to stretch it. That is totally true. I will admit that. I'm hoping the other people listening are just like, what is this guy doing? But I'm not going to list all the teams that are going, but there's a lot of, obviously, the Ontario teams that will be there, and it should be a good time. We'll recap it. We're not going to do a preview like we've done before, or like picks or anything. Just because of, as people in Ontario know, there was a shutdown and not really results to go off of compared to other tournaments or the other CUC that happened. So that is happening, and we'll recap it when it does occur. Good luck to those teams that are going. Just cherish the fact you can play some Ultimate again, indoors even, and just have a good time. So, Yeah, okay, I can segue this now, though. Speaking of University Ultimate, Danie, what did you see out west, or what's happening out west?
So the annual Douglas Bowl, which is the UVic versus UBC kind of one-off game weekend situation, is happening this upcoming weekend. So on March 12th. And it's always really exciting because both the open and the women's teams play against each other. Usually there's some sort of an alumni event, especially if it's in Vancouver. We'll do a UVic versus UBC mixed alum game, and that is quite fun. It's in Victoria this year. I don't think I'll be able to make it up, but it's happening. It's going to be great. It's a lot of these teams. Like, it's definitely UVic and UBC's kind of like first real look at each other's real rosters. So it'll be very telling, I think. And speaking of the UVic women, they're potentially, I've said that word so much already this episode, they're most likely going to the Northwest Challenge to compete in Tier 2, which is really exciting. And I potentially am coaching them for that tournament.
Is that tentative as well as what you're saying?
I get to actually work with them. Yeah. I mean, I'm available and they've asked. It's just if the tournament actually happens, I'll be there. So I'm excited. And then finally, some cool news, which I know makes you and I feel good because it makes us realize that people are getting something out of what we're doing here. So during our spirit episode, we talked a lot about spirit scores and kind of our biases about different aspects of spirit. And after listening to that episode, Kimberly Baxter of Hamilton Ultimate Club, they apparently had another meeting to kind of talk about their spirit, and they redid their spirit scores and their spirit questions and kind of revamped the whole thing. She also included like this Prezi, and it was very large. And so I think it's pretty cool that people are continually kind of reflecting and looking at how we do things and not just assuming the way that we've always done it is the way it should always be done. And I love that. I love hearing those stories. So if ever we say something that either triggers you or like lights a fire or lights a light bulb, something, we'd love to hear about it.
I will say I've seen an Hamilton Ultimate Club Prezi buzzing around the internet before as well. I think it might have been on Concussion. So I think they're the Prezi type, so that's really cool that they're doing stuff. I'm gonna do something that I've seen on other podcasts, a trivia time for you. I want to related to the Douglas Bowl. I don't even know if I have the right answer to this, but who started the Douglas Bowl? Who helped pioneer it?
Okay, so picture this. It's late. It's maybe 2 a.m. on a Saturday night. Kevin Underhill and Graham Barber are sitting around a table at a house called HQ, and they're drafting up the plans, which will become the Douglas Bowl. Eventually, we ran the first Douglas Bowl in Victoria. The women crushed us, absolutely. And I think the UVic men won on Universe. It was very exciting. And there's actually a highlight video of it, pre-Nathan, and I did it. So
you're the first Nathan, is what you're saying.
That.
The first videographer, ultimate videographer.
At one point, I was better than him. That was true at one point in history. So I do actually know the origin of the Douglas Bowl. So thank you for asking that. I think it is important to tip our hats to our founding fathers, Graham and Kevin.
Yeah, I don't know if they listen to the podcast, but hey, if you know Kevin, tell him. And you play in the Douglas Bowl, tell him thanks for making that. I know Nathan has made a very maybe inspiring video, exciting video of the Douglas Bowl that got a lot of traction on Facebook. Do you remember that? It was a few years ago. I think it was on Unilad or something. It was
I think it was the open highlight video.
I honestly don't remember.
It wasn't unfortunately, it didn't have women in it, which sucks. But tough. Yes, it was though. It was the open highlight video for sure. It was good. It was rainy and stuff. It was a cool looking video.
Yeah, check out his videos, including the UCI finals highlight. Right, Danie?
Both of us are in there. Yeah.
Wait, we are?
You're in it.
Oh yeah. I make a 2-second cameo. Let's go. You're in it more. You're featured, You got some game touches.
Getting beat on D and then throwing a forehand. We love it.
You probably.
Okay, I have one last thing I want to say. Sorry. Yes, go ahead.
No, you go. You're good.
Okay, well, I'm going to be ending this segment, so if you have something to say, speak your piece. Okay, nothing to say. All right, so I was speaking to Adriana from VC, and she was saying that sometimes people buy our merch off of their website, and I think that's pretty dope. And I don't think a lot of people know that we actually sell our merch, like this Revo hoodie that I'm sporting right now, the shorts, buffs, they're on the website. It looks sick. Like what could be better than what I'm wearing right now? If you're listening to the podcast, just imagine how sick I look. So if you want to pick up some Huckin merch, we all love swag. Got to head to the link in our bio. You'll see it there, or you can probably search us on the VC website. So we just want to pump up our sponsors a lot. And now is actually probably a good time for us to go to our VC sponsored break. This episode is sponsored by VC Ultimate. Now, if you know me, or you've seen me on the field, or you've seen me coaching, you know I'm repping VC Ultimate. VC is a company that proudly puts values and company before profit. VC is the world's best source for quality, design, and all of your ultimate needs. So check out VC to get your gear now.
Hey, this is Stephen Krug, captain of the University of Manitoba Ultimate Team, and you're listening to the Huckin podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.
Welcome, everybody, to the main event. We are very blessed to have 3 disc golf superstars in our presence, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but we have Laura, Jordan, and Julie here, and they're all here because, like you, they play Ultimate, and like you, they are disc golf curious, so they're here to kind of tell us a little bit about their journey and kind of where they're going to be going in the future. So let's start with you, Jordan, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
All right. Hi, I'm Jordan. I've been playing Ultimate since I was in grade 8, which is about 15 years or so. I started playing because my brother started playing at university, and he wrangled my dad onto his team, and then my dad started coaching my high school team. So I've been playing since then.
Awesome. And then we'll go with your family member here. Let's go to Julie next.
Yeah, cool. I'm Julie. I also have been playing Ultimate for probably about 15 years. Also kind of grade 8, 9, 10. And I started playing for the same reason everyone else in my family was. So I went for it.
And all 4 of you play, right? There's 4 siblings?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I had the pleasure of playing with Ray back in the day. So you're all pretty good at Frisbee. And how about you, Laura?
My name's Laura Mason, and I've been playing Ultimate for almost 20 years, but 10 years competitively. Most of my time has been spent on traffic.
Nice. Sweet. So you've all played Ultimate at a very, very high level, and I think a lot of us kind of were curious about disc golf, especially during the pandemic. And so I'm just curious for the 3 of you, what was it that initially drew you into disc golf? Like, why did you go onto the course? What kept you coming back kind of in that first couple of years, or first year especially, of playing? Let's keep with the same order. So we'll go Jordan, then Julie, then Laura.
Right on. So I, once again, I think I have to blame it on my brother. He and our other sister, Rachel, moved to a house that was right near Queen Elizabeth Park, where there's a small disc golf course. And we all, everyone in their household would play there. And it kind of got to be the point where if I wanted to see my siblings, it was always, come on over. We're over playing at QE. So my brother got me a couple of discs for my birthday that year, and I started playing with them, and then I started playing without them, and then some folks who saw me around on the course started telling me, oh, there's this women's event that's coming up. And so the women's global event in 2015 that was held at Queen Elizabeth Park was my first tournament that I played in. And luckily I had the home field advantage, so it went really well. So I was kind of hooked at that point.
Nice. It's a really nice course. I feel like I see a lot of, every time I'm there, it's all like filled with Ultimate players.
Totally.
How about you, Julie?
Yeah, I guess I started playing disc golf. Like I kind of dabbled in it for a few years, but we would bring like ultimate frisbees and go out to QE and go play some disc golf. And I think I had like an old, like I had one driver and one putter, but I never threw them because I could never throw them as well as I could throw an ultimate disc back then. And then it was actually like I lived in the UK for a few years and then I moved back, and Jordan actually signed me up for BC provincials. And I went and I got whooped at BC provincials. But it was pretty fun. And then I guess for the next 2 years ish, I just like I think I maybe played like, I don't know, once or twice a month, and I'd enter tournaments on the weekend for fun. And then when the pandemic hit, I stopped playing ultimate. I moved to Victoria. I needed a way to meet people. I was very lonely. And then I like started playing a ton of disc golf, and then I got super hooked on it and just started playing all the time. And yeah, and then now if I can find a disc golf tournament, I will be there.
Sweet. And Laura?
Yeah, I think several of my ultimate friends played disc golf for a while, and I would go with them, but I never really got into it at first because I was so bad. I could just throw it approximately 50 feet. And so I would go and it was fun, but I wasn't really into it. And then I think just slowly more and more of my friends got into it. I got a few discs. I started learning more. And it just became a really fun, relaxed, social activity to do. I love being outside and in nature, and you could kind of explore different parts of the city. And it was a different sort of challenge than ultimate. So I started really getting into it. And then of course with the pandemic, super into it. And then I started kind of thinking of transitioning away from ultimate. And so I had to find my next thing to be obsessed with, which was disc golf.
It's like you specifically that I remember seeing on the course like all the time, like you, J-Rock, and Chewy, all of you, just like slinging disc golf discs so perfectly. Thanks, everyone. Okay, so this next question is kind of, well, it's a two-parter. So like when I go out and play disc golf, there's certain things that I already have like a leg up on people that haven't played ultimate, for example. And you can step onto a disc golf course and have a certain level of competency. So I'm curious for all of you, which specific aspects of disc golf you found really easy to pick up because of ultimate. And if there's conversely anything that was more challenging to kind of flip back and forth between the two sports, if anything. And I'm going to switch it up on you three. And I'm going to start with Julie and then Laura and then Jordan to give Jordan a bit of a break.
Cool. Yeah. I think thinking back now, there's a lot of things that should have been easier because of my background in ultimate. But I think that like the way that I started playing disc golf, that wasn't necessarily true. Like now I throw almost all understable distance drivers, and I throw my putters a lot, and they like that is very like ultimate because you throw on a kind of hyzer and you hope it flips up to flat. And yeah, I do that now. But when I first started disc golf, I didn't do that. I threw all stable and like just tried to crank over that on them and throw it really hard. So it's weird because like I think that's the biggest advantage is like that ultimate players have is that touch and that form for throwing the flip up backhands. But I didn't use it right away. And I think, I'm sure Jordan and Laura will maybe agree here, but the hardest thing is the forehand because the disc golf forehand is exactly opposite to what you want to do in ultimate. Like in forehanding a putter is one thing that's sort of like throwing an ultimate disc, but throwing a forehand drive, instead of stepping out with your right foot and reaching out and trying to give it some loft, you basically step forward with your left foot and throw hard flat. And it that took, well, I'm still not exactly great at it, but it took a long time. I was really good at throwing it straight up in the air when I started.
For the non-disc golf like fanatics in the audience, can you explain like what the ultimate equivalent is to hyzer and Anheuser?
Yeah, so a hyzer, like I would equate it to throwing inside out. Basically, you're throwing with the, like, if the disc is in your hand, the far edge from your hand is pointed down. So you're throwing it at an angle, and then you're throwing it hard enough for it to flip up and fly flat. Kind of the same way you'd throw an ultimate huck, where you're throwing it up across your body with a right-handed backhand, kind of up across to the right. I don't know if that's a good description, but
that was flawless.
Yeah, hyzer feels like an IO throw.
Yeah, excellent. And Laura?
I think the biggest advantage I felt like I had in disc golf was in ultimate, you have to use a wide variety of angles on your throws, depending on what receiver you're trying to hit. So you're stepping out, you're trying to go around a mark, you're putting it on an outside in edge, or maybe you're having to, throw really low. And I found my approaches were really like quite strong out of the gate, and getting around obstacles, because I could step out and I was familiar with how to throw a disc to get it to fly in a certain way. And as long as I was using, like I use the Mako a lot, which is generally a straight flyer. And so when I put it on an angle, it generally stays on that. And so I was kind of familiar with those different release points. And I found that really helpful early on. Was that the only part of the question?
I mean, if there's another thing that like kind of screws you up, because you actually were playing a lot of disc golf last year and then still playing traffic. So was there anything that you maybe made your ultimate game worse because you're playing disc golf or something?
It was such a struggle. When I went back to playing ultimate after a break from the pandemic, all my throws turned into rollers, because I was trying to really, like, I tend to, like, one of the hard things transitioning to disc golf for me is I throw with a lot of spin on my wrist and kind of far out from my body. And so that meant that when I tried to throw a disc golf disc, I'm like throwing it on this outside in or Anheuser angle. And it was just a real struggle to get the right amount of like power and get the right mechanics for a really far drive. But when I went back to ultimate and I would try and do that, all my ultimate discs were just flipping over, and I felt like I didn't even know how to throw anymore. It was quite bad.
I mean, I didn't personally notice, but I'll take your word for it.
I think we did a longest pull competition at one of our traffic practices. And when I did mine, it turned into a roller and rolled just like down the hill onto the other field. I was like, I'm out.
Amazing. And Jordan, how about you?
Yeah. When I started, I really felt that my throwing mechanics for a backhand anyway were pretty strong. I think I potentially got lucky in that the very first driver that my brother bought for me was a relatively beginner friendly driver. So it didn't just like meat hook left out of your hand. And so I could get the hang of getting it to fly pretty flat. But the thing that I struggled with was, in ultimate, you're always trying to throw your throws so they're catchable. And in disc golf, you need to throw like you're going to slice somebody's head off. And so getting the hang of throwing like at breast height instead of over your defenders to get to the end zone, getting the hang of throwing flat and low was really hard for me. But it was funny because I remember thinking a couple of years ago, on hole 7 at QE where you've got, I wouldn't call it a low ceiling, but there's a ceiling. And I remember thinking, I used to hit these trees like every other drive, and now I don't, and it's just become body memory. And the funny thing is that the body memory seems to still hold for ultimate. If I don't have if you put someone counting stalls in front of me, I'm not thinking, oh, have I got the right angle? You just throw and it comes back. But I know a lot of people complain about it not coming back for ultimate, but I've never had too much of an issue with it, luckily.
I still hit those trees like every time on 7. So if you're from Vancouver, you know. Sweet. Thanks, everybody. Now, I feel like you were all there for like an entire week, potentially, but you all were all in Las Vegas playing a tournament. And it was really, really fun to follow along, to see so many Canadians and so many Canadian women playing was dope. And so I'd love to hear from you all kind of how that experience was. You can talk about the rounds themselves. You can talk about just being in Vegas, people that you saw, like literally anything that you want to share, because it's such a unique experience that I think a lot of people can strive for and get really excited to train to be at that level as well. So Laura, I'm going to start with you, and then we're going to go Jordan, then Julie.
Sounds good. Yeah, it was interesting going into Vegas. I was definitely nervous, but I have played quite a few tournaments locally, and then I did one back in Minnesota when I was home visiting my family, and I was surprised at how calm I was. So I thought, surely this will translate. Even it's a much bigger, like one of the most competitive events you can go to. All the top players in the world are there. But yeah, I definitely wasn't prepared for just how nervous I would be and how much it would affect my game. From the start of round 1, I was like, even just thinking back to it, I actually have like my body's remembering. I'm like shaking. I was just like, I was shaking. I was nervous. It's like I felt disconnected from my body. Like, do I remember how to throw, how to putt? And it really rattled me. And so I had a really hard first round. I tried to come in with really low expectations. Like, this is just an amazing experience. I want to be positive and have fun, but I also want to play my best, and I'm competitive. Like, I can't help it. So it was really hard. And I definitely went through a roller coaster of having to like work through that feeling. And I got a lot of encouragement from people here, just like reminding me how great it was that I was even out there competing. So that really helped me take a step back and have that perspective, which I think did translate well into my next round. It was definitely like, you always have to deal with the mental struggles of feeling that imposter syndrome. Do I belong here? But beyond all of that, it was so fun. Like, I'm so glad that I went, and just getting to see in person all the pros that I've been following and watching on the different disc golf events was super amazing. So I had a blast.
Yeah, it was fun to follow along your social media stuff. I think that you did a good job. Well, I don't want to place any judgment positively or negatively, but I really appreciated that you were being so vulnerable on your own social media kind of about the journey of it, because I think like playing an individual sport, if you're a team sport person, is so freaking scary. Like, you even explaining how nervous you were, I got nervous, like physically felt like sick. So I'm just so impressed and proud of you for doing it and having really good rounds too. So
thanks, Danie.
No problem. Jordan.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous myself. I've played in a couple of big disc golf events now. I played at Am Worlds in 2018. I also traveled to Finland in 2018 to play in a disc golf tournament. A pretty big event there. And I've played in a few other big events. This event, I was the most nervous, no question. Somehow the big events that I've played in the past, I didn't play many events 2020 and 2021 because of COVID. So the big events I am starting to play now, I feel like I've raised my expectations for myself. And so the first round, I was such a nervous wreck. I the whole night before the first round, I was literally dreaming about the first hole and just dreaming about getting my drive over and inbounds on the first hole, because you throw across a big out of bounds area, well, hazard area, for the first drive of the tournament. And so just, I had this big bundle of nerves, and the whole first round I had to remind myself, don't hold on to the disc too tight. Don't grip too hard when you're putting. Just keep the body loose. And I played a really good round. Probably my second best rated tournament round that I've ever played. No, probably about it. It was, I checked. But the second round, I found I was less nervous, and it's almost like I almost wanted it back, if that makes any sense, because I felt like my nerves were actually keeping me from letting loose in a sort of I was trying to play a conservative game, and when I get up onto the tee pad, I'm like, now I can really throw it, and right into the first tree. Maybe I should have been more nervous and reminding myself not to grip it too hard and not to. So anyways, it's almost like I wish the nerves had stuck around a little longer than just the first round, but still, I played 3 rounds that were all 3 above my rating. And all in all, I was my final round, I was surprised it was above my rating because it didn't feel that good, but I got out of there. I got out of there alive, and I beat my seed. So
that's good too. I think with nerves, it's like I'm nervous for everything. I'm nervous when I go play like VUL, Vancouver Ultimate League, like Div 3. I think it's like everybody has the different threshold of what amount of nerves are beneficial and what amount of nerves are like over the tipping point, and finding that sweet spot is so hard. How do you make yourself more nervous? I've never tried, so I wouldn't know, but maybe if you can figure that out, Jordan, you can let us know.
I'll be sure to do so.
Thanks. And Julie?
Yeah. I had so much fun. I really loved the whole experience. I was really excited to do this ever since last year, and then having Laura and Jordan like jump on and say that they wanted to do it too, and have kind of a group go down there was so much fun. As far as the tournament went, I had similar issues to Laura in the first round of just like I was so nervous I couldn't play disc golf, and I didn't even think I was going to be nervous. And like Jordan said, all evening, all morning, I was envisioning that first drive, and in my brain I was going to ace it, and in reality I chucked my Berg, which is like a disc that doesn't go very far. I threw it like past the pin right into the hazard. It's just like, it was a terrible throw. And then I was lining up to just approach the pin. I was just trying to like put it under the pin and walk away with like a bogey. And I was sitting there and I was putting my feet in position, and I was like kind of up on my right toe, but my leg was just like, like it wouldn't stop shaking. And then I was like, I don't remember how to throw. And then I tried to throw it at the basket. I just tried to put it under the basket, and I almost threw it in because I threw it so much harder than I wanted to throw it. And luckily I still got my bogey, but like it was just like, I couldn't even think. I was so nervous. And then like eventually the drives got bigger, and I'm usually pretty confident like on the big throws. But yeah, the first round, I could not get out of my own head. And I weirdly, usually driving is my thing. Like I can throw it far and I can throw it accurately. But I couldn't do that very well that first round. But somehow putting, which is not my thing, like was great. I did really well at putting. I hit a lot of like really far putts. So yeah, the first round was a bummer. And then, yeah, I felt upset about it afterwards, and I didn't really want to talk or like do anything. I was just upset. And then the next day I was just kind of, I don't know. I just came out being like, well, time to just relax and have fun and like throw the way that you can. And I shot by far the best round of disc golf that I've ever played. It was easy. It was like, there was no stress ever in the round. I threw OB once, and then I had a bad approach and had to make a long putt. And that was the only hole that there was even a small amount of stress. So it was really cool. And then, in my other rounds I played pretty well. And then I ended up making the cut, and I came 14th against arguably all of the top disc golfers in the world were there. And I'm really proud of that. And it made me just really want to play more disc golf tournaments, because I feel like, I'm like, maybe I have a shot at playing some high level disc golf. But then other experiences you asked about, it was I felt really lucky. I got to play with some people I'd been really excited to play with. I got to play with, actually Laura and I played together in the first round, and we played with someone named Holland Hanley, and she absolutely bombs the disc, and it was fun to watch, and she was really nice. Enjoyed that a lot. And then I got to play with Madison Walker, who I'd been really excited to play with, and I got to play with Ella Hansen, and I got to play with Owen Scoggins, and it was really cool. And they all had such a nice vibe. I was worried I'd be kind of starstruck and not able to perform, but I had such a good time. Especially playing with Owen was highlight of disc golf for me. She was so cool and so supportive, and just it was really fun. Oh, and Zoe Andike. Sorry, I have to mention that because she was also so supportive and awesome, and it just made playing disc golf really fun to be on a card with her.
Yeah, that's the cool part about disc golf, is that you do get these opportunities to spend almost an entire day with potential strangers and really get to know them. Now, Julie, I know that you posted some stuff on Instagram, and it was something about putting stats that you were surprised about. Can you share a little bit about that? Because I think that's a pretty cool thing, and this is a space for you to humble brag.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as I said before, putting, I'm a good putter when I feel relaxed. I'm a okay putter, I feel in general. If I'm inside the circle, I'm usually pretty confident. Not that it's always going to go in if I'm at the outside, but I'm going to hit something. I rarely am airballing it past that basket at that range. But this tournament, I was just really good at putting. There was one round I missed 3 putts inside the circle. It was kind of windy. One of them was a doink. One of them was just a bad putt. And 2 of them, they weren't great putts, but it was a little bit obstructed. But for the most part, I just was putting really well. And so I think I hit, by my count, 5, but by UDisc's count, 6 circle 2 putts, which means outside of 10 meters. And so that felt really good. And actually one of them was quite far and uphill, and one of them was a putt from, I missed the island on one of the holes, and the drop zone is, I think it's, what did we say? It was 45 feet or 49 feet, 49 feet, I think, with water 10 feet behind it. And I was just you know what? Now's the time. And I got it. And I was really excited about that. And that was to go, that was for a bogey-free round. So that was really cool. And I think I think my really good round, I was 100% inside the circle, which for me, that rarely happens. So it was really cool. It was cool to putt well. And I've been practicing putting a lot. So it felt good that paid off.
Somebody once told me that driving is for the show and putting's for the dough. And I like that saying, although I'm so bad at putting when the pandemic first started and anything within 10 feet of the pin was a gimme, that saved me strokes all the time. Like 10 feet. It's like ridiculous. It's the best rule ever. It like really helped my game. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's actually, I'll say one more thing on putting. That was an interesting, my own brain, this tournament. Because usually what happens is I'm nervous when I'm putting and I'm scared of missing, and I'm thinking more about that than I am about putting itself. And this was I don't know why it switched in my brain or what happened. I think actually Laura was kind of like pumping me up during our practice rounds and being like, "You're a good putter." So I was like, maybe I am a good putter. And then I was, when I get to putt, I was actually kind of excited about it. Like, even if it was a tester or a far putt, I was all of a sudden like, this is kind of fun. Like, putting's kind of, I was enjoying it, which is not my normal situation. I'm usually quite nervous. So I don't know if that will help anyone with their putting, but I just started to look forward to it.
Yeah, I just want to cry and I sweat and putting's so hard.
That's my normal. That's my normal. And this time I was just like, I'm going to just go for everything. And it worked.
Now, you kind of expressed what your strength is, Julie. You said driving is something that you have always felt like is your strength. So I'm curious, Laura and Jordan, if you have something about disc golf that you think is like your sweet spot, bread and butter, I got this. Let's start with Laura.
Yeah, I think I like when I was out there at Las Vegas Challenge, I generally, when we would all throw our drives, I would generally always be away. So that means I would throw the shortest drive. So I would be the first person to then throw my next shot. And I was aware going in that my drives aren't like, they're nothing to brag about. They're accurate, but they're not very far. So I think because of that, I've had to hone in my approach game. So that those are the throws when you're trying to get as close as you can to the basket so you can have as short of a putt as possible. So I think that's always been a strength of mine, is gauging the distance and kind of navigating any obstacles and putting it as close to the basket as possible. Generally, I'm also strong at putting. I enjoy it. I'm working through trying to adjust my form a little bit right now, so it doesn't feel as strong as it has been in the past. But generally, those are, if I'm feeling good, those are two things that I really rely on during a tournament.
I have this memory, like one of the very, like I haven't played this. There's a disc golf course in North Van called Eastview Park. And I remember shooting there and just like everything was going my way. And I was like, there's no one that would ever get around as good as this. I was like new. And I was like, this is amazing. I was like -5 on 9. And I was like, this is incredible. And I looked at UDisc and I see like Laura Mason -8 or 9 or something super stupid. So, and that it's a pretty like short course. So I'm assuming that a lot of your approach shots just like snuggled right up against the basket, or maybe a hole in one or two potentially.
Oh, yeah. I remember that round actually. It hasn't been repeated. It hasn't been repeated since.
See, I didn't know that. I'm like, this is just a casual thing that Laura does, just shooting -7, -8 or whatever. Speaking of which, Jordan, the only actual competitive, I'm going to put in air quotes, disc golf that I ever played is I played in tag rounds once, and I think you won, right?
Yeah.
Is that tag round?
Yes.
You beat, there was like me, you, and maybe one other woman, and just like a slew of dudes from Vancouver. And I looked at the leaderboard or whatever at the end, and I was just like so pumped. Can you talk a little bit about that round? Also, what is something that you find to be your strength, and what did you use that day to crush everybody?
That was an interesting day. I didn't go to the park intending to play that tag round, but the VCU organizer was there. He had a tent set up. I was there with Curtis and my dad, and Joe, the VCU organizer, was selling memberships and asking people to play in their first tag round of the year. And I wasn't even intending to buy a membership. I never play tag rounds. And my dad goes, "Oh, well, I'll buy her membership." and I'll buy her entry into the tag round. Great. So now instead of playing the normal 18, we're playing the normal 18, but it's a tag round. And then I just started putting every throw under the basket. And then I started hitting every single putt, and I finished the front nine at -8, which was a course record for me. And I was like, oh, I wonder how this is comparing to other people who were playing the tag round. And that's when I pulled up the UDIS leaderboard. And that's when I went, oh, this is, like I'm pretty high up here. And then I just kept just throwing everything perfectly. And I ended up shooting a -13, which a -5 on the back 9 is not a thing that I've done before or since. I just couldn't do anything wrong. I didn't miss anything somehow. And it was just, I was so excited. My dad and I played doubles at QE a few weeks after that. And between the two of us, we shot a -13. We're like, yeah. But honestly, I've never expected to do it again. It was a 1 in a million. That was my 1,000 rated round right there. But yeah, usually what does good rounds for me is my approach game. I'm a pretty long driver by most standards, I guess. Not pro standards, but here at home standards. And then when I don't end up near the basket, I like to be near the basket. So I just throw the next shot near the basket. And that just keeps working somehow. Yeah, my approaches, I've felt like they're a really reliable part of my game for a really long time, which is good because I don't feel like putting's a reliable part of my game. So if I just approach really well, then I don't have to putt is kind of the going strategy for me. I'm working on the putting part.
It's hard.
It is hard.
Now, Jordan, looking into the future, do you have any goals for 2022? I know you said kind of before we started recording that you have no weekends off, which makes it hard to compete, but for the near future, but anything in 2022 and beyond happening for you?
Yeah, well, last year, my partner and I did a kilometers biking goal. This year, I didn't want to ever see my bike again, so we decided to do a disc golf holes goal. So we set our disc golf holes goal to 5,200 holes this year, so averaging to 100 a week. So I want to play a lot of holes of disc golf this year. I've already played 927 holes of disc golf this year. Yeah, so I want to play a lot of holes of disc golf, and I also want to play in as many tournaments as I can conceivably find that are near me once I don't have to work weekends anymore.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot of disc golf. Julie, how about you?
Yeah, for this year, what am I going to do? I'm trying to sign up for everything I possibly can. So I signed up for, like, I'm playing there's like duck golfs around here, which are like, they're PDGA rated tournaments. They're more casual. They're not like huge events. And then I'm going, at the end of May, I'm going down to the States and I'm playing a tournament in Seattle. And then I'm playing the Portland Open, which is another stop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And then I'm on the wait list. I'm like second on the wait list, I think, for the Beaver State Fling, which is another Pro Tour stop. So I have those ones lined up. And then when I got home from Vegas, I was in a world of misery because I had to go back to work instead of playing disc golf. And so I impulsively signed up for the Preserve, and I'm going to sign up for the Ledgestone Insurance Open and try to hit those ones up as well. And then I'm also playing the BC Open and Canadian Nationals.
In PEI.
So, yeah. And I have, I'm on the Team Canada Disc Golf Team Championship team. I'll say team a couple more times. And I'm on that, and that is in Croatia there's a tournament. So pending COVID, pending everything, that is pretty exciting.
Wow, that's busy.
Yeah.
And Laura?
It's quite a list of tournaments. I had so much fun at Vegas, and I figure, why not give it a go?
You're addicted. It's okay to say you're addicted.
Yeah, I am an addict. But yeah, that's sort of my plans.
That's amazing. I didn't know you were going to the preserve. That'll be fun.
I'm third on the wait list.
Yeah.
It was a impulsive assignment.
Mm-hmm. For me, my goals, after playing at that level of an event, leading up to Vegas, I spent a lot of time like in field work and focusing on my form. I did a couple lessons, and I've been trying to train some of the ultimate things out of my drive in order to get that next level of distance. So that's going to be one of my goals, is focusing on that, which has been a big challenge. But and then working on my putting, and then playing as much as I can. So yeah, I've signed up for a bunch of local tournaments. I'm actually going to Squamish tomorrow to play in a format that's a get in, get out, get rated. It's like a really low barrier to entry, awesome format that like prioritizes women and new players. Ted Moens, Jordan Moens, that crew came up with it. So I'm doing that tomorrow, and then I'm also hoping to go to the Beaver State Fling. I'm going to dabble in some more FPO events, but I'm also going to do some more amateur events. I think I have like work to do on continuing to build my confidence. I've signed up for Canadian Nationals, and I'm considering Am Worlds, but it's expensive, and I spent so much of my life flying everywhere for Ultimate, and when I stopped, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have so much money. And now I'm like, never mind. I don't have any money. So I'm going to go to as many as I can because I just totally love it. So my goal is just to keep playing, keep having fun, and improving upon my game.
Amazing. All right. Before we send you all off to practice your putting in your garages, one piece of advice for people, could be ultimate players or just new novice players trying to get into disc golf. Any advice can be about what discs to use. It can be mindset or anything, really anything. And whoever wants to start can come off mute and go first.
I can go. Yeah, I think so. One of the things that definitely helped me a lot in the last year was I found a bunch of people who were way better at disc golf than me, and I went and played disc golf with them all the time. Like, I'll credit one of my friends, Forrest. He took me like to all of these courses, and we played a ton of disc golf, and I learned so much from him. And we'd go do field work, and we'd do all this stuff, and we'd bet ice creams on stuff all the time. And it improved my game so much. And then I've met other people that similar things. I try to challenge them. And even if I don't think I will win in like little battles that often, but I try really hard, and it's improved my game. And then I've also really enjoyed, on the island, we have a sort of women's group, and we play, almost like lately, I would say every second, like Saturday morning, we've got kind of 6-8 of us that'll go out and play some disc golf. And it is, it's not like as much of a competitive environment, but it's been really good for just like, it's been amazing for, I think, growing the sport, and what we've seen on the island and the tournaments and all of the women's divisions are filling up all the time. And there's a group of women who are like becoming really strong disc golfers, and it's just been fun. We've been playing a ton of women's disc golf, and like getting the tournaments filling up and seeing all this talent come up, and it's making tournaments more fun and more competitive, and it's really exciting.
Amazing. All right.
Yeah.
And then let's go, Jordan.
Sure. advice. I don't know that I'm one to give advice, but the best advice I think I can give is if you are out playing, just remember why. Um, if you're there to have fun and you're not having fun, set yourself up for success. You know, if you're out there and you're like, oh, this is terrible, it's rainy, it's cold, my hands are cold, I can't putt, just go home. It's not, no one's having fun, you know. Set yourself up to have a good time. Obviously, you know, sometimes you're in a situation where you're at a tournament and the conditions are going to be poopy, but you can just, I find that when I set myself up for being as comfortable and as having as much fun as I can, that it makes me more able to relax in those situations. So, you know, if I'm not at a tournament and it starts raining, my hands start getting cold, I'm going to go home. It's the best advice I can give is if you're not having fun, take a break.
Sweet. Thank you. And Laura?
Yeah. One piece of advice I kind of got and tried for a while, which I think it contributed to my confidence in putting and just my ability in putting, is go for everything when you're starting. Like, don't worry about, I mean, if you're starting out, you may not be keeping score, but don't worry about the score so much when you start, and really just explore the limits of what you can do without consequence. So there was a while where I just would try and run every putt. I would try and make it. And even if it would go 20 feet past the basket, I started to see that then I was practicing making it and practicing building up that confidence that I could make it from all these distances. So that was one thing that I often will go back to if I'm feeling stressed, is I'm just going to go for everything and I'm not going to worry about the outcome. And I find that translates into my play in general. Just go for it and have fun, and you can worry about consequences another time.
That's beautiful.
I saw Laura do a bunch of those and it was awesome.
Definitely need to take that advice. Anyways, I really appreciate all of you coming on and sharing your experiences, because I think it's pretty ultimate wide that a lot of us started playing disc golf during the pandemic, and some people really fell in love with it, maybe quit ultimate, some people are still doing both, and some people maybe stopped playing at a certain point because ultimate came back. But I think the three of you are like a really good example of kind of like what you can achieve if you just put yourself out there and take that step and sign up for those tournaments. And just like really appreciate having you on so that we can all kind of learn from you and look up to you.
Thanks, Danie. This is so fun.
Thanks for having us.
All right, we're back. I'm back here. Danie was always there. So Danie, talking some disc golf. You know, I've seen you on your Instagram story slinging the disc golf disc out there. So I know you're into it. But clearly the people you interviewed were into it. So maybe talk a little bit about, for me who wasn't there, who wasn't present in that interview, obviously. What did you learn? What are some takeaways for the audience there?
Yeah, I guess I one thing that really resonated with me is when Laura was talking about just going out and not keeping score and just kind of exploring what the disc would do. And I also really appreciated when she said that just go for all the putts. Just go for them all. Like, why are you playing your random neighborhood 9-hole par 3 course and laying up putts? Like, you're not playing for a championship or whatever. And I was like, you know what? That is really silly now that I think about it. Like, why not just like always shoot for it and go for it? And I think that's a good mentality too, to just have in sports in general. Like, when you have the opportunities, it's early season, get those higher risk reps in, just kind of know what your limits are. And yeah, it was sweet. Theo, you're just going to love this episode. It is amazing. All three of them are such an inspiration.
Yeah, I'm not as much of an avid disc golfer as I used to be, but I will definitely be checking out that part. And I think you can definitely, I'm going to predict this because like I said, I wasn't there. I'm going to predict this, but I bet you there's a lot of like takeaways from what it means to be an elite ultimate player to like go on to the pro disc golf scene. So there are parallels there for you if you're wondering how come we're featuring disc golf. There are parallels to it, so you can definitely take a lot of things from that.
Yeah, I think what makes disc golf people that like train for it so impressive to me is that it's not like it's a team where you have to show up the field at a certain time and a coach takes you through it. Like you have to really want to get better. And that's why I think that I took a lot from this episode is they're just practicing their putts on their own. They set their own accountabilities and maybe they play with other people sometimes, of course, but like it's their own responsibility to get better and theirs alone. And I just think that's just such a good skill to develop. And yeah, I was really impressed. Do you have anything like that? You're rock climbing, so you know what's up about that individual sport life.
Yeah, I know a little bit about it as a not yet pro rock climber. That's something I always never understood about like individual sports like track. Like I think I was at a track meet for work and just seeing them run through the motions and do it is really awesome. But I just could never understand like doing the same event, like the 3,000 meters, like doing it 10 times in a row, like 10 meets in a row, whatever it is. Just no variety to it. I don't know. I never got it. I never get that. Like the individual sport aspect, but I guess I'm doing it now.
Yeah. Yeah, you are. Anyways, I think for our next episode, it's going to be extremely good. But if you do want us to be covering something specific, we would love to hear from you because we can always pivot and cover that thing too. So we do have something really exciting in the works as always, but please tell us what you want us to talk about because we'd love to talk about that. Whether you want us to do throwback games or you want us to interview certain people, highlight specific teams, do some history, let us know. We want to please the people. That's why we're here.
And with Ultimate season coming up, that means you're going to see more of our mugs here and hearing our voices as we get ready to preview more tournaments. I can't wait for like actually a full year or full season, not year, but full season of previewing tournaments and stuff. That's going to be pretty sweet. Leading up to CUC, that'll be exciting. And hopefully more Canadian teams, not just Traffic this year, going to the USA U Series. Come on.
Yes. So that's it for our episode. If you want to stick around or if you are a subscriber, if you're not, you should be a subscriber, but Theo and I are going to head to the subscriber only section and so should you. So Theo, do you want to plug the socials? But before you do, subscriber only, I'm going to tell you about some secret tips that I got from a Sixers player that was visiting me the other weekend. And it's super, super private, secretive, tell all, scandalous. You gotta subscribe. I'm overplaying it 100%.
I didn't even. Anyway. I'll be honest with the Huckin audience, as I always am. I didn't know this was coming, so because it's not even in the script.
Neither did I.
It literally says question marks in yellow. So in the script it says question marks.
Don't tell the people the secrets.
So hey,
it's so secretive. I can't even type it.
You have this person's permission to share this, right? Like it's not like some.
It's not. It's just. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, hit the subscriber only. But yeah, follow us, Huckin. Huckin, is it Huckin _A on Instagram, I believe. Follow us on all the social content. We're trying to get to that 1,000 followers. We're a little bit ways away, almost at 900. Help us get to 1,000. Come on, celebration.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you everybody for being here with this episode.
Hey, this is Julie Moens, head coach of the Western University Open Ultimate Team and commentator for the AUDL Canada Cup.